16th of October, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua with Rashi, Noach.
Okay. Let's go. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Fine, let's go. Yeah.
Let's see, we're up to verse 11.
Yeah. ותשוחץ הארץ לפני האלוקים.
Okay, so 11. Yishachet haaretz l'fnei Elokim, v'timalei haaretz Hamas. So the earth had become corrupt before Hashem. And the earth was filled with
Hamas.
Hamas.
By the way, I'm not saying, but the similar sounding word of this word Hamas with the word used for this terror organization is not by chance. Like anything is nothing by chance. Okay?
Oh.
Why do you say that?
Why I say that, what I mean is, I'm not coming to put the blame on anybody, chas v'shalom, but we have to see what things that happen and take a lesson from things that happened. And there's no doubt that this rave which went on there, right? And this thing, unfortunately, many young people died there.
Right.
But this rave that went on there was Avodah Zorah there, and there was Gilui Arayis there.
Wow.
You mean by the Jews?
So, among the Jews, yes. And unfortunately, they were, afterwards, the Arabs themselves, the terrorists, they also maltreated the young ladies in a similar way. But whatever, I'm not saying, but there definitely is a lesson for us to be taken from there. Okay.
Seems to me the lesson
anyway,
is we're not united. We're
that
pointing.
is also, I'm not saying that's the only lesson. I'm not saying, I'm not saying that, but that's not the only lesson. But it's also one of the major things which the Rabbanim said was the union of Shmir Shabbos, because this thing happened on Shabbos, no doubt, as we all know, right?
Right.
Places, in fact, there was 2 or 3 yishuvim, 2 or 3 settlements were miraculously saved because they were kept Shabbos, right?
Oh.
One most notably that they closed the gates of the settlement, the moshav, the gates were closed, were locked, and the terrorists tried to break the lock, and they initially could not, and then they decided because they couldn't do that, therefore they're just going to move on go to the next settlement, and they left that settlement alone.
Wow.
Okay, listen, each person, but just pointing out this. Whatever, it's a lesson to be learned from it. Anyway, let's see what Rashi says.
I'm one quick question. I know it's unrelated, sort of, but the word Hamas, is that the same word as hummus? The same root?
I mean, hummus as in,
What we eat? Yeah.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious.
Hummus
Okay.
means a form of violent thievery.
Hmm.
That's really what hummus means.
Right. And there's nothing to do with the food then.
L'chera not.
Okay. Okay, so Rashi, Batisachet, and the world became corrupt. Lishon Erva. Okay, so it's expresses it's called sexual immorality.
Right.
Zara and idolatry. Gemo pen tashchitun.
Right. The pasuk in Parshas Vayeschanan says, "Be careful that you do not become corrupt and go and serve the idols of the nations."
Uh-huh.
Right? Okay.
Okay. So those are two big sins, sexual immorality and idolatry.
Right.
Okay, let me go on. It says V'timalei haaretz Hamas. So the
By the
earth
way,
became.
Rashi doesn't seem to think, but in the edition which I have of Rashi, he also adds, "How do I know it's referring to immorality?" Because it says, "Ki hishchis kol baso es darkoi al haaretz." Next
Oh,
pasuk, "Ki hishchis kol
oh,
baso es darkoi al haaretz," which means darkoi means uh, permitted or the correct form of morality, right? Correct form of marital relations. And hishchis, kobosa, means that derech, that correct way, became corrupt. So they acted immorally.
uh-huh.
Okay. And as Rashi is going to point out there, that even the animals acted immorally. We'll see.
Wow.
See that we'll get there. Okay.
Okay. So this is V'timalei haaretz Hamas. So the earth became filled with robbery. Rashi says Gazel, which is robbery. Shneimar Umin hechamas asher b'kapehem. So it's
It says by
from
faith
the robbery,
that was in their
the
hands.
kapehem in their hands. What's that? Another pasuk?
That's a pasuk
Oh, yeah.
in Sefer Yonah about. It says that the people of Nineveh, they did tshuva with regard to the basically they had the various sins which they were notorious for, and they did tshuva on those. So one of them was thievery, and it says that they did tshuva umina chamos asher b'kapeim, from the thievery that was in their hands, which means that they relented or retracted from all forms of thievery.
Uh-huh. Okay. Very interesting. Okay, I think that's it for that pasuk.
Right. Okay, let's go into pasuk Yud Beis.
Vayar Elokim es haaretz v'hinei nish
Nish
ki
ta.
chis kol basar es darko al haaretz. So God saw the earth, that it was corrupted because all flesh had corrupted its way on the earth. So Rashi says, for all flesh had corrupted Afilu behema chaya va'of. Even domesticated animals, wild animals, and birds. Nis
Right.
keen l'she'enan minan. They had relations which those that were not of their type.
Right. Now, note, Rashi just mentions animals, behema chaya, and birds. What about fish?
It doesn't mention fish.
What?
It doesn't mention fish.
Right. Why not?
It's all flesh. Fish are made of flesh.
It's interesting you're mentioning that point, that fish is not called flesh, it's not called meat. But also, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what was the punishment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought upon the world?
Oh, a flood.
Right. Can animals live underwater?
No,
No. Can birds live underwater?
no.
Can fish live underwater?
Yup.
Right. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought a form of punishment to the world to show that those who had sinned, right, they were punished. Those who did not sin could stay alive.
But I learned that the water became very hot and all the fish died too, except the ones that were right near the ark.
That could be. So I'm not sure about that. I was only that about myself. But that's an interesting point. Because Rashi seems to
The word basar, is that basar? Does that exclude fish?
So it's interesting. There's an issa of eating meat and milk together. So the Torah says, "Lo yisavashel gedi b'chalev imoy." Okay, from which the Gemara learns out that dafka, something that has cholav aim, something that has mother's milk, i.e., mammals, right?
Right.
Only those have an issa of basa b'cholav. But birds, right, do not have an issa d'oraisa, a Torah prohibition of eating birds. Chicken and milk is not an issa d'oraisa; it's only issa d'rabbanan. And even then, we only ask chicken or birds, but not fish. Fish and milk you're allowed to have together. There is some have a minhag not to have fish and milk together. And that reason behind that is al-pi Kabbalah. But it's not a thing. Some say it's actually machloikus among the poskim, whether it's forbidden to have fish and milk together. Right? We know we're careful about not having fish and meat together. Therefore, if a person has in the one meal fish and meat together, he should make sure to eat and drink something between the fish and the meat. And similarly, if he has it the other way around, most people normally have the fish first and then the meat. So therefore, make sure to have the fish first, the initial entree. You have a fish course, right? So you have to eat the fish. Then one should be careful to eat something, eat bread or something, something similar to that, and to drink something, to have a drink between one and the other. The reason why I says is that I brought down halacha is because it's a sakana. It's dangerous to have the two together. Some say, I'm just suggesting this, but there's not a hard and fast necessarily the only opinion. The reason is we know that fish, there are certain foods that cool the body and certain foods that warm the body. fish is known to be a food that cools the body, and meat is something which warms the body. And therefore, they are, since they have contradictory forms of effect, right? One should not have them together. That's one opinion. Okay, that's why you shouldn't have fish and meat together. Could be there are other reasons as well. But anyway, but the Gemara says it's not basically based on halacha, there's a prohibition, but it is something which is dangerous. It's medically, it's not good to have the two together. Okay?
Oh, huh. All right.
Yeah, okay.
So
continue.
I asked you about the word basar.
Right, so it could well be that basar, we only find just let me check up a second, because we do find, interesting, in Parshas Bar Loischa, it says that the people had a desire for meat. Now, Kodesh Baruch Hu sent
Birds.
Slav.
the Slav, right, which was actually birds.
All right.
Okay. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how could it be that you could provide so much meat for everybody? If you're going to shecht or animals, and if you're going to provide fish in the sea. So then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, no, I'm not going to provide animals nor fish in the sea. I'm going to provide birds. Now, there's a major question among the Mefarshim, which means Moshe Rabbeinu didn't think of birds. What's HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming to tell him? You know? You say you thought meat or chicken or meat or fish. You know what? I'm going to bring birds. See, you didn't think of that, did you? Right? No, that's not Zechanop Pshat. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that now. There's different explanations why Moshe Rabbeinu did not suggest birds. But anyway, but there, you do see that Moshe Rabbeinu suggested that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says he's going to bring meat for everybody, he meant fish. So there is an implication over there that there's an implication that even fish is called meat.
Using the word basar.
Basar, yeah.
Okay.
Let me just see over here what the pasuk says. I just want to quote the lashon of the pasuk. 1 second. Hold it a minute. See, he said as follows. Moshe said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu first said to Moshe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, this is in chapter 11, Pasuk 18, prepare yourselves for tomorrow and you're going to eat meat, because you wept in the literally, for Hashem to hear as follows, who's going to give us meat to eat? It was better for us in Egypt. Okay? So Hashem says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you meat and you're going to eat it. And it says not 1 day and not 5 days and not 10 days and not 20 days. You're going to eat it for a whole month till it comes out of your noses. Okay? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem said to Moshe said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, these people are 600,000. You says you're going to give them I'm going to give them meat, and they're going to eat for a month of days, right? 30 a full month. Right? You can find enough flock or cattle to shecht for them and give to them. If you gather all the fish in the sea, right, would it be enough for them? So you see, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Kosh just said Basa. And Moshe Rabbeinu suggests, well, maybe you're going to give fish in the sea. To which HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered, says, you think it's beyond Hashem's power? You're going to see what's going to happen. And then the Maisa, he brought birds.
So therefore, we can deduce that basar includes
Fish.
all flesh,
Right.
fish and birds.
But all flesh includes fish as well.
Right.
But Rashi is careful to say that the Chayra only animals were the only ones, animals and birds, but not fish. In fact, the harder loy nokat nami dogim. Why didn't Rashi mention fish? Mishum dechsiv ala oretz, upon the land. Loy dogim shabayam, and not fish in the sea. So the diuk is that it applied only to animals and birds and not fish was not from the word basar, right from the word meat, flesh, but al ha'aretz, upon the land. Okay?
Oh, so basar al haaretz is just
Right.
Birds and animals.
Right.
Interesting.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's continue. Who's up next?
Okay, I am.
Yeah,
It
you-
says,
Meir.
Vayomer Elokim LaNoach, Kates Basar Ba Lefanai, Ki Malah Haaretz Hamas, Mipnehem, Hineni Mashchitam Et Haaretz. So Hashem saying to Noach, Kate, the end of all the flesh is coming. Lefanai, before me. Because the earth is filled with this Hamas, robbery, Mipnehem, because of them. And behold, I will destroy, or I'm about to destroy the earth. Wow. Okay, so this is Yud Gimel. Rashi, Kates kol basar, the end of all flesh. Kol makom she'ata motzi zenut. In all places that you find zenut, that's harlotry, I think.
Immorality.
Immorality, okay. Androlo mosia.
And I have in brackets over here the Avodah Zarah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
When
I
you
don't
say
have.
when you say immorality, do you mean sexual immorality?
Yes.
Well, isn't zenut in modern Hebrew harlotry?
Correct.
Okay. Right.
We-
Okay, so androlomosia ba'ali olam says that big word is catastrophe. Comes
Chaos.
to the world.
I tell you
Chaos.
that. Yeah, I think. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I
I
have
have
it
to
here.
look that up in alkali. That word. Okay.
I translated it. 1 second.
Okay. Androlomosia.
Indiscriminate punishment.
Wow. Okay.
It means, it is otherwise translated as chaos, pandemonium.
Pandemonium. Okay. That makes sense.
How do we understand that Hashem punishes indiscriminately?
Oh, so you're asking very good, because Lamaisa, we have a pasuk to the contrary, in Parshas Hazinu. Keil emunah ve'ein ovel, tzaddik v'yoshahu. Kosh Baruch is a faithful God ve'ein ovel. Meaning, and Rashi says over there, that even when like a mass destruction happens, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every bullet, right, has its address. Every person who's destined to die is being decreed upon to die. There's nothing indiscriminate. So we have to understand what exactly that means. Right, Andra Lemusia. But Rashi says quite clearly, Hareges Tovim Veroi. So Lamaisa, some Mefarshim explain as follows: that when the good people who will die in such a situation are only those who could have prevented the bad people from doing it and didn't do it, prevent them. So they are somewhat responsible for what the bad people did.
Right, so that's not indiscriminate.
Yes, correct. But it could be like, let's say, I'll give you an example. Somebody doesn't transgress his Shabbos, desecrates Shabbos, okay? And somebody else, his neighbor, technically could have prevented him from doing so if he'd spent time with him and explained to him what Shabbos is, and etc., etc. Now, do I say the same rule that when this person, Kosh Baruch is going to punish this person for having desecrated Shabbos, he's also going to punish his neighbor in a similar way? And I'm medak to say in a similar way? No, not necessarily. But when it comes to Avodah Zarah, idol worship, and Gilu Arayas, immorality, znus, right? These things are, Kosh Baruch Hu expects of us, even the people who are not sinning, right, but not committing these grave offenses, to be so revulsed and disgusted by what's going on with his neighbor or his fellow man, and he sees what's going on, that he should be determined to do something about it. And if he's not doing so, that means there's something missing. Even in his sense of, in other words, it's not so bad in his eyes what the other person's doing. I'll give an example. I mean, just something. If you would see somebody, Reuven, trying to murder Shimon, okay? Now, you say to yourself, oh, terrible he's doing. You just sit by and let it happen. Would you understand that just letting it happen is something gefährlich? It's terrible. What do you mean? You saw Reuven about to kill Shimon. You could have stopped it, and you didn't. And yet, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects of us in the same way to have the same reaction when we see somebody chas v'shalom being serving avodah zarah, and similarly when somebody is acting immorally as well. It should have the same sense of urgency to us that we've got to do something about it, as we chas v'shalom would see if somebody was about to murder somebody else. Okay? Yeah. Okay, let's continue the Rashi over here.
Okay, so et haaretz, the earth. Kemo min haaretz, just like from the earth.
What happened to did you do the Rashi Kemo Haaretz Chomas?
Oh yeah, hold it. Kol malah haaretz chamas. So the earth was filled with robbery. Lo nechtam gizar dinam. Oh yeah, so it wasn't sealed. This decree wasn't sealed.
Wasn't that? Their fate was not sealed.
Okay. Ella aha gazel. except on robbery.
Right.
Hmm.
On account of their sin of robbery, their fate was sealed. Their sentence, should we say, the decree was sealed because they also practice robbery as well. Now, what Rashi means is as follows: in any society, right, there's certain aspects of behavior which are, should we say, more between man and God, right? Which are
Okay.
not necessarily harmful to society. For instance, avodah zarah. Yeah, somebody serves avodah zarah. Is he harming his fellow man? Doesn't acting? Is he undermining society in interpersonal relationships between one man and another? No. Okay. Similarly, this is a little bit. One can argue a little bit on this because it's not necessarily so, but on a lesser level, similarly, immorality, right, also doesn't per se undermine society. It does to somewhat, like wife swapping and whatever, right? That's for sure does undermine society. But on the other hand, it doesn't necessarily harm per se the actual fabric of interpersonal relationships in society. Right? Society can technically continue. But when there's thievery and robbery going on, and that mamash breaks into the actual fabric of peaceful society, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, that's it. Meaning, Kivayachal, I'm just putting in those terms. Kivayachal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying, what you sin against me, right, against what I command, but doesn't have necessarily effect on your fellow man, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, I can be long suffering and let it go by. But when society is attacking, one part of society is attacking the other, and that's breaking the actual fabric of a peaceful society, B'chlal, Joshua says, okay, that's it. We're closing up shop, closing down the world. Right? That's it. Mankind cannot continue like this. Okay? Maybe we'll leave the next Rashi for tomorrow, Bezat Hashem. We'll stop here.
Mark that then. Okay.
Okay?
Very good, Yoshkayach. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Okay.
Rabbi.
Good
Yeah.
Chodesh.
Good Chodesh.
Okay.
See you, Mayor.
Be well, Lou.